Tonight, I'm going to finally install MegaRAID Storage Manager version 12 on a virtual machine that's running in my ESXi 5.1 environment here. So you'll see I already have the RAID health, I already have the LSI controller configured on the host I'm on. So I have a very simple environment here. I'm looking at the ESXi host, and it's time to go ahead and get a virtual machine ready to install MegaRAID Storage Manager and see if I can get management of the RAID array that I'm on working. All right. Well, when I say that I'm on it, well, I'm going to put the virtual machine on a solid-state drive, not actually on a volume that's on the RAID controller. That way, if I want to make changes, I'm not going to affect where I'm running this management operating system from. So let's go to VMs and templates view and deploy from a template I have created. No idea if this is going to work on Windows 8, but I'm about to find out. Okay, so I'm going to make a new virtual machine called Windows 8 VM. It's an MSM test. I should just call it MSM. So my host name is Windows 8 VM. Add MSM to it. Okay, I believe it's thin. I'll go ahead and specify thin. It should already be on thin. I'm going to deploy it to a fast solid-state drive here to speed things along for the purposes of this video. And I can go ahead and power it on after the cloning happens. So that's preparing or just getting an image ready. So it's going to be a base image of Windows 8. It has Windows updates run on it about a week ago. And it's ready to take MegaRAID Storage Manager. Where do you get MegaRAID from? Go to LSI, click on support, type in 9265 in my case, and boom, you get this support website. And right there you'll see that MegaRAID Storage Manager version 5.3, June 18th, is still current today, which is now September 30th, 2012. Okay, so once I download that version, we end up with a zip file with this file name, 1205.03, and we can extract it to some sort of folder. Let's have a look around in the folder. So just like previous releases of MegaRAID Storage Manager, there's a README, with very little in it, and a whole bunch of things that they've changed or bug fixes. Let's dive in deeper, and this is a much better README, much more interesting. All right, so it talks about some limitations here connected to a VMware system. They're not specifically talking about running as a VM inside the same ESXi host you're trying to manage. So when I say an ESXi host, I mean the host we're on can recognize the RAID controller and ask it health questions and so forth. It can also, in theory, get the MegaRAID Storage Manager connected. And some folks on my website have made it clear that they gotten it working, so that's good. Let's just see if there's any other hits with the word VMware in there. Okay, so on Windows, talks about okay, that's interesting. And, okay, so 3 hits. How about ESX? Okay, same hits. So there's our look at the README. So now it's time to go ahead and install. Let me get this in the clipboard here. So we're going to want this entire install folder. And actually, I'll probably just stick with the console view here. So the cloning has been completed. Go back to host view, clients, and there's our VM ready for us. Let's get the console up and the desktop going. All right. So next steps. And actually that resolution will suffice. So make sure we're not cutting anything off either. Instead of remote desktop, which can get confusing, I'll just stick with this console view. So it's time to install. So once it's extracted to download, we're going to double click the setup file on a local hard drive. I want to show you an idea of the speed. And again, this is a pristine Windows 8 install. So it has this prereq. We just need to let it do its thing. Say yes, and let's see how this goes. You'll see I have Task Manager running minimized in the bottom right. CPU is pretty busy right there. Now it's settling down. Okay, so the prereq is installed. Now we can click Next. Accept the license agreement. We're skipping LDAP, just click Next. Oh, sorry. Gotta click No before to let us proceed. No LDAP. Now we can click Install. Okay, pop up for the Java runtime for this network. Go ahead and allow access. And it says it finished without incident. Click Finish. Okay, now a couple things. I'm just going to run Task Manager to see what's running. Java's already running. Okay, so that's an interesting sign. Let me hit Windows R and type in services.msc, and let's see if MegaRAID Storage Manager is already running. Right there, it's running. So this thing might actually work without a reboot. Let's give it a shot. And another firewall pop up. Okay, so it's found itself, but logging into myself is not going to do much good. Let me explain. If we go to, bottom left corner, right click with the mouse, go to Device Manager, open up SCSI, Storage Controller, and you'll see an LSI RAID adapter as part of VMware Tools. So when we do a local login like this, it's not going to be too interesting. We're logging into MegaRAID Storage Manager to manage our own VMware Tools installed LSI adapter. So if I click on Physical, that's all we get. It's useless. It's not what we're trying to do, right? So let's close MegaRAID Storage Manager. Let's open it again. And this time we have some discovery we want to do. So let's just start with this. Display all systems in the network of the local server. All right, so many articles I've read on this say it can take some time. That was really quick. So it did actually, the ESXi host did answer, but the IP address is garbage. Let's just try it anyway and see what happens. I typed in root, but the fact that it shows 000 is not a great sign. Okay. What's next? Host file. Right click, open up command prompt as admin. Oops. Here, let's see. So I'm making a backup of the host file. Now I'm running Notepad to edit the host file. Here's the host file. Let's go ahead and put in actually, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to grab the host file, one of my ESXi host. So I'm in a lab here that has no DNS, so I just want to point that out. And here's my host file on the ESXi side. I've got 3 hosts in there that my vCenter server, my VMA server eventually, and my ESXi server all have in there. So I can just use the same thing on my clipboard. Too bad that didn't work. Hang on, let's try that again. Don't know why that didn't work. Copy, and I'll minimize instead of close the window this time. Okay, let's see if it's still in the clipboard. Oh, that's because I'm in the console, of course. I'm being silly. All right, so let me just type it. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get that in there. Okay, that's done. Just making things clean so the client can see everyone the same way my own laptop can. Same host file all around. Not ideal, but when you have no true DNS in the lab, that's one way to do it. All right. Now if we click Configure Host, let's try this instead. Now it says IP address. So just a reminder, the ESXi host is what we're trying to connect to here. We know its IP address is .50. Okay? So let's do this. Let's see what happens. So the fact that it's not finishing is not a surprise to me at all. It's been acting this way for quite a long time. And let me show an interesting article with some possible options here. Okay, check this out. Got my site here with the LSI health post right here, how to make ESX51 work and see the health. Check out this conversation here. Okay, here's Alex who got it running. He's using a bit of different hardware. Here's Roman who talks about another Alex in Russia getting this working. And it talks about the reasons. Okay, so you have to put the ESXi host IP in the PHP config file. So nothing to do with host file, which I just do anyway. It's really a different tactic to get this thing working. And I'm not really interested in the utility or command line. I really would like a GUI working. So now we're rolling up our sleeves and trying out some, whoops, did not mean to do that. Hang on, we want to translate. Okay, so it's translated for me. Now let's probably size the 2 windows alongside each other so you can follow along better. Yeah, let me just go ahead and set that up. Hang on. All right. This can be a little difficult because of the translation. So some of the English wording will be tricky. But the gist of it is, let me see if I can find that summary of the reason for this problem. Explains it right at the top. Right here. Searching servers which ends with nothing. So we have to use a SLP helper to get this thing to work. A proxy to allow the MSN to communicate with the server that avoids this multicasting stuff. All right. So now I need to figure this out. Okay, so I'm going to save this. Okay. Run antivirus on it. Okay, back in the VM. You can go ahead and close that. Oh, that's interesting. The MegaRAID user interface looks like it hung. I'm going to reboot anyway, because we never actually did reboot after installing MegaRAID. So rebooting, if you try to log in with MegaRAID user interface right after rebooting, because the Java piece, the services haven't started yet, you'll get error messages. So just a little heads up there. You want to patiently let it finish rebooting. So I'm going to have a read here. It looks like I'm downloading a zip file. Drivers we already have. SIM provider we already have. So really for us, it looks like we have to make sure that the SIM server is running. So we'll do that. And we can do that now. Let's have a look. Is the SIM server running? ESXi, go to configuration, go to security profile, go ahead and bring this up, sort by alphabet, and look at SIM server. SIM server is running, so I'm going to cancel because I changed nothing. In the DNS section, give your ESXi host. These pop-ups are annoying. Gosh. Okay, well, we already took care of host files. Let me just show you that again. I kind of went through it earlier. So, using good old WinSCP, let me reduce confusion here. Let's do it again. I'm going to launch WinSCP. I'm going to go straight into the ESXi host. And I'm going to look in the etc folder. I can sort that by name, be a little easier. And if we look at this file called host, just double click, it brings up an editor. And there's our host file. So I don't have DNS, so I'm putting in a host file. Normally you see .local first and the short name second. I like to go this order, short name first. That way my user interface, like here, shows short name here and short name here. Less mess to me, because I'm just kind of picky that way. Right here, it also says what I want. So yeah, that's just how I do it. Okay, so that's our host file. And then under the virtual machine, you remember I typed those entries in. Okay, so if we go back to the console of the virtual machine, which is hopefully rebooted by now, and it sure has, just a quick reminder of what that looked like. So in that folder, you edit that host file, and you tweak it to make sure that the machines can see each other by name. Okay, so we can right click on the bottom left corner, open a command prompt. You have to be admin, but we can ping ESXi by name, right? Okay, same deal on the local machine. You can run putty, and we get to the command line on putty of the ESXi host. I have SSH running in the security profile of this ESXi host. And now I can type ping by name myself. Great. But notice what the article says. The article's not talking about ESXi only. It's saying the ESXi server needs to be in there. Hang on. List the name of your DNS server on the host file of the machine. Right? So it doesn't really say we have to mess around with like the client side. We don't care what the client virtual machine is named. We can see what it's named here under summary. There's our host name, Windows 8 VM, but it doesn't care. Fine. So we've met that prereq of this article. What's next? Download that file we talked about. So now it's time to get it on the virtual machine here. Okay, so it's on the local file system. Extract its contents, and now we've got it living in the local file system. Let's see what the directions tell us to do with it. Unzip it, and then edit slp helper.php. Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep things simple here. Keep things consistent here is what I should say. My C drive, I have a util folder. So now I've put this SLP thing there, meant as a semi-permanent place to work there, or run from. If I hold down Shift and right-click on SLP helper, I can say open a command line here. And there I am. I'm at a command line in the SLP folder. Let's go back to following along. Edit this. Okay. I can use Notepad, or I can open it here. And let's go to command prompt. I already have a copy. I have the original archive, so I can just hit Tab Notepad, open up the PHP, and now I'm running a text editor. Maximize that window, bring up this, and see what it says. Open it, and look for this unicast IPS line. I think I spotted it already. Yep, so the unicast way at the top is what they want, right here. Next, replace it with my web server. So I only have one. Not web server, sorry, ESXi server. So that's the IP of my ESXi server. Save changes. Done. Okay, now run the utility, which will open a window. So this is why it's nice to have a command line here. We've got only one thing to run in this directory called runme. And if we run it, we need to allow the firewall to do its thing. And it looks like we're getting the expected result. So, oh my gosh, these pop-ups are annoying. There were no errors. Correct, there's no errors, so it looks like it ran as expected. Now I'm on line 10. Start MSN. let's get this cleaner. Minimize that and size this so a little less bouncy as I go from one window to another. All right, that's slightly better. Start FSM, host address for the search, whoops, should be one of the addresses in the local network with your MSM. I'm a little confused, but okay. Let's go to configure host. The host address for the search should be one of the addresses in the local network with your MSM. I don't know. Let's try display all while I continue to try to figure out the language here. Whoa, cool. It's doing something. Okay, pretty cool. It looks like it did its thing already. It says it's taken a long time. Well, it didn't take very long, and it actually has the real IP. So this thing might actually work. So we're going to click here and log in. My God, it worked. This is awesome. I've wanted this capability for a long time. Thank you, Alex in Russia. Excuse me, Alexander. No, Alex, excuse me. Thank you. Nice save. A little crazy that it has to be done that way, but obviously I'm liking this. You can actually see my whole RAID properties and all that right from within a VM. Set virtual try properties. Turn on and off SSD caching. This is just awesome. All right. So the kind of cool shot here would be, let's see, we got this environment. We can show the health of the RAID array. And at the very same time, we've got a console open here showing that we can actually look at that RAID array. What's on the RAID array? It's whatever you have in there. I have a VMFS file system on there. But that's it. I've now shown you how to install MegaRAID 12.5 on Windows 8. I can't see any reason these directions would be any different on Windows 7 or Windows 2008 or 2, which is probably a more likely place you'll have it. It depends if you're in a lab or in production, but I think this is awesome. I now finally have a workable procedure for getting MegaRAID Storage Manager to run. No learning of Mega CLI, and no need to hit Control H at boot time, which I've kind of mastered at this point, to get into the web BIOS, but the web BIOS is pretty painful compared to this full-rich GUI, complete with help. So yeah, this is good. Complete with help working. So I don't see any troubles with Windows 8. Yeah, I'm jumping the gun and trying to wrap up this video. Let me think. What does he say at the end then? So what do we need to do next time around after a reboot, say? In the future, you only need to perform 9 to 11. Run me. Okay. That makes sense. So watch this. Let's close the GUI. Let's close the Run Me window. Now if we launch the GUI, we're toast. Yep, garbage. So this is kind of neat. I have a blog post all about Task Manager, and it talks about startup folder. And actually my VM Golden Master creation, and how to create a Windows 8 template for a lab, how to add stuff to the startup folder. And I'm looking up my own directions now from this article on how to very quickly get to the startup folder. Shouldn't be that hard because I've done it before on this computer, so it's going to be in my start run dialog. Watch this. So we click bottom left corner here. Run, and there it is, shell common startup. Okay. Now that we're in the shell common startup folder, we can right click and drag the runme.cmd, and let me think, shortcut, copy. It looks like shortcuts work, so I guess I'll do a shortcut. And it won't let me do that. Okay, let's try right click, drag. How about copy? Okay, that worked nicely. But that's going to be in our face and running in a window. So I deleted it. Let's go with the normal scheme, the way I did it here. We created a shortcut on the desktop. And now, actually we can change the property of it and say run minimized. Okay. So I right click, drag run me to the desktop. I edited the properties to say run minimized. Now I right click, drag and move it over here. Not copy, just move. Give it permission. It's done. And I'm so confident it's going to work, I'm just going to go ahead and reboot. So we've rigged our Windows operating system. Whatever version you have, you just need to drag this runme.cmd into your startup folder. And you should end up with an environment where you're able to run MegaRAID without thinking about it or having to run this Alex tweak manually. Notice it went right to my desktop, and we get this question. Okay, let's turn that off, and let's see what's happening down here. No errors. That's good. So now let's reboot it again. I want to see that it doesn't prompt me next time. See if it just smoothly starts Windows and doesn't ask me any questions. Okay, wait for it, wait for it. I've got a tweak in Windows where after showing the formerly known as Metro user interface, it'll just show the desktop. And it just showed the desktop. CPU is settled down. I'm just going to go ahead and launch MegaRAID. Okay, we got a little more cleanup to do. I think I want to go to Configure Host and make a favorite here. And do I want to, let's see, use the checkbox to manage the remote server discovery process? I guess I can leave that on because I'm now giving it a help, giving it the IP I want in its list. Let's see what happens. Taking kind of long. But remember, this VM was just rebooted recently. And yeah, that's not a good sign. And now we got the user interface hanging up there. Can't click any element on it. It's toast. Is it hogging the CPU? No, not particularly. But it's toast. All right, time to kill it. We can go to the very basic interface here and you'll see it running. And it doesn't show as, whoops. Just hit the delete key or right click and end task. It's gone. All right, time to try again. Okay, that worked. Now let's see if that setting is saved. So I'm going to close that and reboot again. So this video is a little raw and a lot more reboots than will be needed, but I'm basically trying to develop a workable procedure and simplify it screenshot by screenshot for how to do this. And that takes some time to develop, so I'm just recording video while I'm developing that procedure. This is not rehearsed. This is my very first time doing this, which you probably noticed, right? And now I have a little more confidence that MegaRAID Storage Manager will work. Let's see. Okay, I'm watching the CPU has settled down, so I'm pretty comfortable Java is running. Let's go for it. So it doesn't look like it wants to save that setting. Let's try this method. So this box defaults to localhost. IP address 139 is my local IP. 137 actually. That thing ran without incident. 139. Okay, so BG info needs to be updated. Fix that. So we've got some quirks with discovery that I still need to nail down. I've got to read up on MegaRAID and how that's supposed to work. So we can get back into configure host at this point, and it locks up and dies again. So I don't have the patience, just kill it. All right, let's start it again. Let's see if we can find some way. So the machine's been booted for quite a while, the virtual machine. It's quickly not enumerating or showing everything on the network. we click here, favorites didn't do much good. Let's try this combo, just in case that actually works. Okay, that seemed to work on that particular instance. Close the GUI and start it again. Okay. I've got to somehow get the favorite going because I don't really want to have to type that every time. Stop discovery, add this host, click save. See what happens. All right. So it's a little awkward. Not sure what I'm missing, but so if we can get it to avoid always pointing to localhost and point to the host we want, that'd be good. But that's just its default behavior. It's always going to do that. The favorites doesn't seem to be working. So I guess every time I launch it, I have to click Discover All. And I guess that's okay. I mean, this is a workaround after all. It's awkward. We know it's awkward, so we have to run this third-party solution in the background just to get this thing to work. So not that big a deal to have a couple extra clicks of the mouse. So apparently that's our procedure. We start MegaRAID Storage Manager. We click on Configure so that it searches. And then when it finds the ESXi host, we double click it and log into it. And now we have the GUI. So that's acceptable, assuming this thing works. There was an action that popped up. Let's see what that action was. Oh, interesting. So when we added to the startup folder, it warned us. Did we realize we're impacting our startup performance doing that? Okay, we don't seem to be doing too well with the GUI on this particular instance. This is the first time we've seen it act like this. Can we get the GUI to behave without a full reboot? I don't know. Let's find out. Configure host. Display all. Save. Yes. Double click ESXi. Type in appropriate ESXi credentials to get in. Hit enter. It's logging in, and we should see the MegaRAID Storage Manager user interface. And on the second try, we got it. So I'm not sure why it failed in the first one, but here we go. And particularly if you have no data on this controller, or you want to recreate the RAID array or whatever, I don't see any reason you can't update the firmware from right here within MegaRAID Storage Manager in a virtual machine as well. So this is a whole lot better than the dual boot stuff to Windows I was doing, actually, to work around this. So I think I'm done. I can live with the slight quirks here. This is still a whole lot better than previous versions of MegaRAID, which required you to log in as administrator. Literally the word administrator, not just administrative account. There were other such quirks in version 8, 9, 10. So version 12, they seem to have gotten a lot more stable, although you still saw some quirks here today, none of which surprised me at all, really. So hopefully you found this video helpful, and thank you, Alex.